Hi, thanks for checking out our channel here. This is going to be a repair slash upgrade video, I think, on this particular unit. This is a Zareba 10-mile solar one. They've had this model around for years. They've made 2 or 3 different variations of the thing. Not the greatest units. They're the older versions from like 15 years ago are really pretty good. But the style that they've got out now and the last, I don't know, 8 years or 10 years or so, has been kind of lackluster in reliability. So when we get these things in, what we've been doing, because you can't really fix the circuit boards on these things, on the current versions, which I think this is going to be. This is only a 2017 model, so not all that old. Look at the serial number, if it's ever legible. The first 2 digits of the number is the year it was built. This is 2017. But what we do is we usually will take the circuit board out of this one. That's usually about 80% of failures on these are the circuit boards. And we don't put their factory ones in, because factory ones are like 85 bucks, give or take $10 for a new one, for a new board. Probably costs between $80 and $100 for a board. And we've been retrofitting Gallagher S22 boards into these things. And I don't have a video on it because I wanted to get it down to kind of a science before I made a video on it. So this is the current generation style. See, these things aren't very well sealed up from the weather. You know, they've got cobwebs and dirt and grime in this thing, so you can tell that they aren't sealed from the weather very well. You know, they're solar and designed to be, or meant to be, outdoors. So this first thing we'll do first, just to make sure we're not dealing with a board issue first, is we'll test the battery. These are a 6-volt battery, so we'll test across. There should be 6 volts. We're reading 6.35, 6.34 volts in the battery, so the battery's good. That means the solar panel is fine. And solar panels are not very common to go bad. It's about the most reliable thing in the unit. So we'll go in and we'll unplug this board first. And then I'm also going to unplug the fence and ground wire, or the little flash and light circuit board. Get that out of the way. Alright, this has got a switch on it. The switch is I don't hear anything. You don't hear it doing anything, but it's just for shits and giggles. We can just short across this thing, and which closes the switch. Alright, the unit's humming, making this squealing, buzzing sound, but it's actually not clicking. So we got a board issue. But we might have a switch issue too, because it's not doing that with the switch. But I see some corrosion down here, so the switch might just need to be either replaced or cleaned up. Let's unplug the switch wires. So the nice thing is we're going to turn this into a Gallagher unit. The battery's good, we can reuse that. We're going to plug these 2 wires over here for a fence and ground. We're actually going to reuse these wires, I think. Let's get this circuit board pulled out of here. We don't need that in there anymore. This is a Chinese made unit. Anyways, they slap their name on it. Let's get these Phillips screws out of here. And we're probably going to reuse those Phillips screws. A couple screws over here. We'll use at least 2 of the screws. And I'm going to go get the S22 Gallagher board. So if you want this done, we'll definitely do it for you. Or if you want to try to do it yourself, it's not for the faint of heart, honestly, to do it. What's wrong with this board, but it doesn't pulse at all, and that's a good portion of the time the issue is the board. So we'll chuck it in the trash. Now this might be a 2-parter video, and if it is, I'll make sure to put up a link down below for part 2. But we'll get these little nylon washers, nut things, whatever, take those off. Kind of clean up some of the... You think for being a solar unit, these would be a little more sealed off from the weather, but they've got kinds of crap floating around inside here. Alright, so let me pause this video. I'm going to go grab the circuit board for an Gallagher S22, and we'll get started on the next step. Alright, here's the board that we're going to put in. It's going to be a Gallagher S22 board. Part number is G344484. About $120 for a board. Now, brand new the current model of these are these 10 mile Zareba, Blitzer, Red Snapper, whatever, American Farmworks 10 mile solar. They're about $250, $260, somewhere in that range, I would say, give or take. So this is a $120 board. You do get a 1.5 year warranty on this board from us. A brand new one of these ones comes with a 1 year warranty, even from the factory. A current model by Gallagher is called the S20, and they're about $265 for those. So fixing one of these and putting these Gallagher boards in here, as long as everything else is fine, is usually well worth doing. Now we have to modify, not really modify, but we have to add some stuff to this board in order for it to work with this, and mostly it's just soldering some wires to the unit, to the board. Because the S22 board is 0.22 stored, about 0.15 output, and this particular unit is a 0.15 output. So this battery and solar panel we can reuse with this unit. Now the first thing we got to do is we got to grab this little black thing here, piece of plastic, grab it and lift and pull it off. That's where our solar panel from the Gallagher solar panel would plug into. Well, this has different kind of plugs on it, and so we have to solder some wires to there, and I'll tell you which one's positive, which one's negative. As well as we have to put a we've got a wire that plugs right onto here for a 6 volt. This is where a 6 volt battery plugs in at, on this little white plug there. As well as there's a switch that's built into the board. Well, this one's got this switch here, so when you're looking at this, up is off and down is on. It's inverted because when this board is installed into the regular housing that it goes into, it's upside down. So down is, then up is on, down is off, like normal stuff. But when it's sitting in the unit like this, down is on and up is off. As well as we're going to, this has got a built-in LED down right there. It's a surface mounted deal. We have to solder some wires on the back side of here for a plus and minus on it. For our LED, unless you don't care about the LED, because this has this little lens here that flashes down there. It's got this little circuit board here, but we have to bypass this a little bit, or we can try to make it work, because it does have a red LED on there, but there's a resistor right there on the board, this little blue thing there. That's resistors there to protect the LED. Well, we've got to basically bypass that. We are going to probably pull this out. And what we got to do is we got to snip that LED, that resistor out, because we don't need it, because there's a resistor in this board here that does the same thing. If you have too many resistors in there, it actually dogs the lights down where they won't flash. So we're going to snip this out of the circuit and get rid of the resistor. You don't need it. And what we will do, in order for the circuit to complete itself, we're going to have to we'll heat up a solder joint here, and we'll pull this black wire off. Come on. and it needs to go right here instead in this bottom corner. We're basically bridging across where that resistor used to be at, and it used to go across these two joints right there. Well, we're going to remove the black wire from here, and we're going to solder it over here. And we'll just solder on the front side. Doesn't matter if it's the front or the back. But let's get this little third hand helper piece here I've got, and we're going to have that hold there. We're going to add a little solder to the iron here. We'll add a little solder on top, just to that solder joint. We'll add just a little bit more so you get a little bit more surface area, plus it cleans things up. And then we'll, this wire's already got solder on it from the last solder job. It was from being over here. So now that'll be our new LED setup. We'll go ahead, hopefully that'll be all right. Let's clean out these bug guts here. I think we can take this LED, flip it around, put the bulb in its little hole there, get the screw, get that started. Because this will make the unit so much more reliable having this Gallagher board in here. Plus, you get a longer warranty by doing this than you do buying a new one, a new Zareba 10 mile. Like I said, you get a year warranty on this. You get a 1.5 year warranty putting this board in here. Plus, if this board ever does have any issue where like it flashes but won't pull it out, this transformer here can be pulled off and a new one can be installed. Because the Gallagher does make transformers for, not all their units, but most of their units you can get transformers for them. Okay, so the next thing we got to do, we need to get, I'm going to move this, put this housing out of the way. We got to make some changes to the board here. Not really like major changes, but we got to add some wire to it. And we're going to solder that on there. So I got on my notes from doing one a little while ago. On our solar panel over here, we got two little pins over here. The top one is our positive, and our bottom one is our negative for a solar panel. So I'm just adding a little solder to each one of those pins. Here's our battery wire. Let's see. I think I've got a plug for that. For here, so let me dig through my little stash here and find a cord for it. Okay, this is the plug. This is the battery wire for the S17, S22. There's two ways we can do it. We can either plug this on and use it, or if you don't have this, if we put it on there, we'll know it's basically the reverse. For whatever reason, electrically it's reverse. On the solar panel wire pins here, top is positive, bottom pin is negative. On this one, on the battery, top is negative, bottom is positive. So this is the one that went to our battery. So I think we can. So let's do it how you would probably have to do it. Well, no, I'm going to do it differently. I'm just going to, if you want to get one of these boards, I'll get you the plug for the battery wire. So that way you don't have to worry about doing all the solder on there. Make sure this plug is good. Ooh, that one's wore out. I don't like that one. All right, because there's a little pin here. This is a used one. That prong inside that little hole there's laying flat. So I need to actually get another cord. Okay. Yep, that one looks good. Plug that on. I'll keep this just for the wiring. for something else down the road. So that's where that's going to go. And then we need to solder on. I'm going to use this thinner wire because I don't need real big heavy gauge stuff for this stuff. There's not a like high amp draws or high amp stuff. So we're going to take some wire. We'll get our third hand helper deal here. And we're going to tin the wires on this. I'm going to go over here, heat them up, bridge them together. There's one. And we don't need all this wire. I think we'll need about half. So we'll take this one, do the same thing. We'll strip this back just a little bit. Add some solder to it. Okay, so if you're not sure, you can go back and watch, but our top one is our positive, and our bottom pin wire here is our negative for our solar panel. All right, next thing we got to do is we've got to put some solder on the, there's two little lights here. One's our LED for a red flashing light, one's our photosensor, which we don't care about. We're going to put some solder on the back side of this right there, as well as right there. This is surface mount stuff. It's kind of a tedious job, but somebody's got to do it. So now we'll add a little solder there. I'm going to snip off some of that. I don't need as much exposed. And then we'll heat up the two together, putting them side by side. We'll make sure not to touch the other terminal because we don't want them to short out. And then we've got another one here we need to do. Strip off a little bit. We'll twist that wire, make it a little more solid. Add a little solder to this one to tin the wire. I'll cut off just a smidge. And then we'll heat those two up together. Okay. So on this one, our left is our negative and our right is our positive for the LED. Okay, now let's get that case over here that we had. Now we have to figure out how we're going to get this mounted up inside here, because we got three holes we can use. We got one there, one there, and one there. So our screw mounts for the factory housing for a Gallagher S17 or S22. But what we're going to do is we're going to put this up kind of high. I'm going to use the screws and the mounts. I'm probably only going to use two. We're going to put it up kind of high so it's off the base of it where maybe bugs can get in there and mess with it. But we're going to get it kind of flattened to the edge of this lip right here. And we'll try to hold it steady. I'm going to go about dead center of that screw. I'm going to get a bit. It's a 5/64 drill bit. I'm going to drill a little hole into the plastic. I'm going to hold the board still. I'm going to go right over here, go about dead center of that hole there. And then we're going to take the screws. We're going to use two of them. I'm going to take these screws. We're going to put it through the hole. We're going to put that white plastic nylon nut there. I'm going to kind of put it in. I'm just going to turn it a little bit so it stays in place. And then we'll do the same thing over here. I might need a pair of needle nose. Put that in there. Get a finger on top so it holds it from falling out. Take another one of those white deals there, just to put it on. And then we're going to find those two holes. Thread it into those two holes. That little drip bit is just basically making a pilot hole. It's just a size smaller than the screws are on there, so that way it's not too big where the screws just pop in there without staying in place. Okay, there's that. Okay, so now what we'll do, and if you don't feel comfortable doing all this soldering, if you want one of these boards, I'll add like $5. I'll make it 125, and I'll put all these wires on there, and that way all you have to do is splice into your solar panel and your LED and all that fun stuff. And now what you'll have to do on this is you're going to have to either not worry about the light on here if you don't feel comfortable soldering. You'll need to snip out that resistor, get rid of it, and put the black wire in that upper right corner from the screw right up there. So you need to solder it at, and then you'll be able to splice into this. Just use butt connectors or whatever you want to do. Just make sure you do a good clean job on splicing. All right, where are we at time-wise? Okay, I might have to, let's make this a part 2 video. I've got it mounted in there, I got my wires thing done. I'm going to make a part 2 because it's going to take me another 15-20 minutes to do the rest of it, I think, give or take. And then, because I can only do about 25 minutes worth of video before it times out, and I got to make a part 2, at least with my setup I do. All right, so this is going to be into part 1. I'll put a link down below for part 2, and we'll move on and do it again.